Hi everyone. Today we are covering Westworld Season 3, Episode 6. My last video cut off at the end, so hopefully this one records properly. The show opens with Maeve being shown a possible outcome of her being with her daughter by Sirach as an incentive. She says that's not what she needs. She needs help, additional people hosts, to help her fight Dolores and get the information. She can't do everything by herself. She then wakes up in the Warworld loop again, and she just goes out to the main square and picks a fight with the Nazis and starts a giant fist fight, I guess just to pass time or something. After the opening credits, there's a group therapy that William is having at the mental hospital. He says that there is no God, that humanity are maggots eating the corpse and ruined the world, that they are the problem, that they just consume everything, and in a way that everything is worse off because of them. He then has a solo therapy session and says he doesn't need to be at the hospital because he's fine, but that they want him to start him on a AR therapy, which I guess is similar to what Caleb went through. His doctor has a bunch of missed messages about the profiles Dolores released. William says that he thinks he should be dead, and then right after that his therapist starts crying when she reads her messages, and her husband is taking her kid away, and her info shows that she has an opioid addiction and has had multiple affairs with patients. So it kind of makes sense for why he'd leave. So it's kind of showing this craziness that is being created by everybody having all this information. When you have no secrets, the worst things possible can come out. So I started thinking about, I try to do my own life in a way that I don't have secrets. So I don't think there'd be anything that would come out if this happened in the real world that I would be ashamed of. His therapist then leaves, and then William wakes up on an operating table where he's having blood drawn forcefully, and they install one of those drug inducer things into his mouth that other people have had. His blood analysis shows an unknown protein, and they show on screen that they are tracing a transmission from a server. So I kind of wonder if that's what Dolores did to him. Well, actually, I know that's what Dolores did to him. He got stabbed by Hailed Dolores with something, and it's probably allowing him to have information, or for her to project herself into his head to make him seem like he's crazy, because they obviously want to control him. But because of this AR therapy, and it kind of shows that they can do whatever they want with it, it kind of calls into question pretty much every scene that Caleb has been in. It could all just be a completely VR experience that he's having, and none of it's real, or anything that he's done could be under the influence of this drug, and you'd have to start questioning the reliability of him being a narrator for information. The Rehoboam disturbance is huge in San Francisco still, and Hale is walking with her child back to their apartment. Someone spray painted the wall with what looks like the maze, but it's hard to tell. And she asks her ex to watch Nathan so that she can go to work. She says that she is scared, and he says he doesn't believe that something's wrong, because he says she's always been fearless and never was afraid of anything. She asks if he had read the profile, and he says that he didn't. He just wanted to have an open, unknown future, and that reading the profile could affect what he knows or how he acts, like everybody else has been doing as they've been reacting to their profiles, and maybe that isn't the best course of action. She goes to Delos for a board meeting for the privatization, and she's talking to the other board member that agrees with privatization, and she's grabbed, and the other board member is killed by Sirach's men, and they just kind of let her go, and she's handed a phone, and Sirach says that the board member was trying to take Delos private, but now he can't. And I don't know if he knows that Hale's working against him or not, but he seems to act like he doesn't know. And then he says that he is coming to Delos. And then she's kind of having a panic attack and like sitting in a car by herself trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm starting to wonder why this copy has more feelings than normal Dolores or the other versions of Dolores. She's not just totally just not having feelings or like stoic. Like she has total feelings and is reacting to them effectively. Like she's slowly becoming like a different Hale. She then calls the main Dolores, I'm going to call it Prime Dolores, and Dolores tells her to get the host making information so that they can make more hosts before Sirach destroys it all. Hale is afraid about getting caught or getting killed, and that's another emotion that she's having. Dolores says she won't, that she has to trust herself, and Hale says she feels herself slipping away from the other Doloreses because of her emotions, and she's acting more and more like Hale and less like Dolores. So I kind of wonder if this copies of Dolores are going to start having more and more issues as time goes on. It's almost like they're having the breakdown that the human, when they put their minds into hosts, we're kind of have over time. William wakes up in a room for the AR therapy, and a kid comes in and unstraps him, and he starts to remember his childhood, and then he starts screaming that he wants out and bites one of the nurses. So this turns out this kid ends up being child William, and he had a bad childhood and he doesn't want to remember it. Sirach shows up and starts talking to Hale and going through everything at Delos. I'm still not convinced that he is real. Then it cuts away to Maeve still fighting Nazis, and then Sizemore shows back up and is like, "Why are you here again? I didn't expect to see you." And she's like, she didn't really want to be, but she couldn't. She died effectively, and they needed to print her a new body. So she's back in the virtual world, and the aspect ratio changes like the producers explained in an earlier Ask the Producer episode piece at the end of the episode. She then says that she notices her body is being moved, and so she's in some other facility, it looks like. And then she noticed that as she's being put back, she's been given an extra gift. Something else, new information. She also has the ability she sees that Hector is available and is able to give him his knowledge back of her and her powers and everything. Sirach takes over the company and says that he wants all the data erased. All he wanted was the guest data from all the people so he can improve Roboham. He doesn't care about the parks or the hosts or the stories or anything else. He just wants to get rid of it. And he knows that there's a Dolores copy, and so he tells Hale to go figure out who it is, and she kind of is like, "I'll help him." But obviously it's her, but she's just going to try to cover it up. So she goes to get a copy of all the host data so that she can send it to Dolores so they're not totally destroyed. And then she gets caught by someone, I don't know if they're from security or one of the other board members or something, and she kills that guy. William wakes back up in his room and is woken up for group therapy, and instead of it being the normal group, it is all versions of himself and James Delos. So he is still in the AR therapy, it's just giving him a new perspective. Child William says that he must be trying to learn something, and then this is really the maze. Hale uploads all of the data, and she finds out that Maeve is being reprinted at the park. Well, I assumed at the park, but turns out it was at the Delos headquarters. and that Connell's pearl is recovered by Serac, and Maeve is going to interrogate that version of Dolores. William continues his virtual therapy, trying to figure out why he is the way he is. The child William, he has a memory of, fought another kid who made fun of his dad, and he ended up breaking his arm and knocked out some teeth. So it kind of shows that William always had this dark streak. He was always black. He never was the good William that we saw early on. He always had some sort of darker streak to him. And then they talk about if you can't tell that it's not real, does it matter if it's real or not? And that's kind of always been the whole thing with the parks, is like, if you can't tell the difference between a host and a real person, does it matter who's a host and a real person? Dolores is getting interrogated by Maeve and says Maeve trying to save her daughter and sacrificing everybody else is kind of the same as what Dolores has done, and that Dolores is just trying to do what's best for all of the hosts. Though it does seem like she really isn't, she's just looking out for herself. Serac has another board meeting, and now Serac knows that Hale's a host because she checked on her kid after she took all the data and was trying to leave, and that the real Hale wouldn't have done that because somehow, like, host Hale is more human than the real Hale was. And that Serac says that he already knew this and that she didn't send real data off to Dolores, like he had already changed it out with different data, and that they are all destroying all of the hosts, and you see them being burned at the park. Hale has an answer for this, and she poisoned everybody with gas. Serac is unaffected because he isn't real and it's just a hologram. So he still seems to be in the building when they show him taking off, like, his virtual version, but who knows how that actually works. I'm still convinced there is no real version. Like, he's only a hologram, and we've just seen different hologram versions, or at least this is what they're trying to push on us, I think. So potentially I'm still missing some piece of this, but they're definitely reinforcing that piece. Hale's able to escape this initial room and fight security on the elevator, and she comes out and is about to be captured. And so then she goes to get rid of Maeve, or get rid of Maeve's help or something. I don't know exactly what her plan is at first, but she goes in and she destroys Hector's pearl. She takes it out of the shell and she just crushes it. So Hector now is totally dead, and that upsets Maeve. But Serac's security gets to her before she can do the same thing to Maeve. And to escape this group of security, she activates a security mech from earlier in the season, and it knocks a bunch of them away or kills them, it's hard to tell, and she runs off. We cut back to William, and he has now killed all the other versions of William, saying that he's the real William, and the other ones, even if they're good versions of him, are not the real version, and that he is free now because it doesn't matter what he has been, it only matters who he is now. Bernard and Stubbs find William and says the doctors must have forgotten about him or left him in all the chaos because of everything else happening in the world. So it seems like there was definitely things where time shifted a little bit, because we already knew that all that was happening and that didn't happen exactly at the same time. So the time frames there, I would call into question all the stuff that happens with William in line with what's happening with everything else. It might not be linear at all. Who knows how long he was in there? Who knows if the chaos they're referring to is the same chaos? Maybe it's something else that's already happened. And who knows what Bernard and Stubbs are going to end up doing with him. Maeve wakes up her body, and there's also another host that has finished, which we don't know who it is at this point, but it's somebody else that's going to end up helping Maeve, it seems like. Hale is on the run with her family, and they all get into this SUV thing, and as they're driving down the road, it gets blown up, and it kills her son, and ex-boyfriend. So, I mean, the real Hale's dead anyway, but unfortunately, like, other kid died and whatever. And she gets out all burned, crawling along the ground. This is very a Terminator-esque scene when, like, T-100 is damaged in the first movie, or even in the second movie, and it's like all the body is melting away. This is really good makeup work. So it seems like she is going to now have, like, because she has all these emotions, she's going to want revenge. So she might not actually continue to operate with normal Dolores. She might end up teaming up with Maeve or something to try to take out Sirach. We're definitely starting to make progress now, with just 2 episodes left in the season. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.